Hey guys, here's a portion of the Brandon McCaskill podcast. You can become a member on our Patreon page to support what it is that we're doing here. Just click the link above this video and get yourself set up. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, and forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
So, resistance from the old guard. You want to tell us what that means?
Well,
What do you mean by that?
I think in any human organization or society, I think sometimes change can be threatening to certain individuals, or it disrupts the status quo. That doesn't mean something, isn't going to emerge from that out the other end, but a lot of folks have trouble adapting. So when you have someone new at the level of a chief in any organization, there's going to be some changes.
They're thinking, who are you? Who's this guy?
Who's this guy? Telling us how to do our job.
Well, I mean, you just got to look back at, just Google me in 2022 and you'll see, there was a lot of roasting.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
a couple of covers there and a lot of stories and a lot of things said that I don't necessarily agree with. But at the same time, I also want to be professional as the chief. I represent our organization, and our people deserve to have a leader that's not going to stoop sometimes.
Right.
So that being said, I will present facts, even uncomfortable facts, because I owe it to our people and to our community to do that. And that's certainly something we've also done.
Right.
Part of my challenge, I think, to the old guard, and, you can assign that label where you see fit, is that we're going to do what needs to be done. Yeah. We're going to do the right thing, and that's what we've done consistently from the beginning, even when it's uncomfortable, and that has drawn certainly some fire on the organization, and I think quite clearly personally as well.
Right. And so I know there's been kind of a history of miscommunication, or maybe lack of communication, with the mayor of Sarnia. Where are you guys at right now in your business relationship? Is there clear communication to this day, or is it still kind of consistent to how it's been?
Go right to the big topics.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So, did you not write the mayor? Or did the mayor not write you? Who's not
Who do
writing
we
him?
believe?
I can tell you that every Sarnia Police event that we host, because we respect our city council and certainly working with our board, that every event that we host, we invite city council, every member to it.
That includes the mayor. Yeah.
It includes the mayor. And we have an open communication invitation to anyone on council who wants to ask us questions or seek clarification. Yeah. And we are an open book. And I think that's something that we've committed to as an organization.
Yeah, there's been we've held many special events now, which we never did in the past.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that we've done to introduce to our members. But we've also had open houses, come in and see our building, come walk around it. There's a lot that's changed within that.
Yeah.
I'd say 4 walls, but I think there's probably 85 walls in the way that it's designed there. But come in, see it, have a conversation about it, walk around with us, see what the challenges are, and we get a number of counselors that do show up to those kind of events too.
So it sounds like you're a very open book, and you're not hiding anything. At least to my perspective, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, to say me and Brandon are just your average Joes in the city here, and you guys are taking the time to come and have this conversation with us.
I can tell you from 21 years of experience that the transparency within this organization, the way it is now, far surpasses anything before. Every little piece of information, that whether it's shared internally or externally, there's people that everybody knows the direction of our service within our organization. Yeah. We and outside the organization too is through the town halls and the openness that we display there.
Right.
A few years back, I probably wouldn't have been as interested in those kind of things, but I know they didn't happen.
Yep.
And I'm going to them now. And I get to hear the message and hear what the community has to say about us. And
Right.
project that out. But also internally, the amount of communication that's happening inside our organization, and everybody knows
Yeah.
where we're going.
Communication is key, and I
Yeah.
think in terms of any relationship between a police service and its council, I think it's critical that those communication channels are open. It doesn't mean everyone has to agree, but I think you have to have that open channel of communication. I think the community benefits.
Yeah.
And when that isn't present for whatever reason, I think there's a cost to that, and I think it's unfortunate. And that cost comes out in various ways. It comes out in some miscommunication. It comes out in unnecessary conflict. It comes out in inefficiencies that the community deserves to not have to endure. Like, we are a big piece of the municipal budget. We deliver a ton of services, and an effective police service has an impact on a community. And I think that's a critical piece of infrastructure that I think any civic leadership person would, benefit from being heavily involved in.
Right.
So speaking of these town halls, I would be interested to know what is the number one feedback that you get from the citizens of the city. Like, what are you guys hearing? What are people's biggest problem?
Speeders.
Speeders.
Well,
really?
It ebbs and flows, but I'll tell you, it's significantly different now than it was 3 years ago when we went through this process. When we went through this process, whether it was new or not, may have been an impact factor in that. But ultimately, when you look at the one town hall that we hosted at the old Skits High School, we had hundreds of people attend to that because there were significant issues within the city that they were looking for the police to address.
Right.
We host our town halls recently in this fall, and I think total we might have had 35 different people in attendance. So we've gone from hundreds of people to attending to diminish it down to very few.
Well,
and even from the internal perspective, where I talked a lot about the anxiety that the officers felt and the civilian staff. We host our internal town halls now, and the paint color's not right on the walls. So to just a little bit of tongue in cheek to answer your question about what the most significant thing is, but that is the most prevalent. There are significant issues within the city individualized, but if you were to look at it in if you asked everybody, traffic is going to be at the top of the list, and it's significant, and it's very important, which is why we dedicate officers specifically to addressing traffic issues. So
it's a positive. When we have all those people and people are upset, we need to address it. Even the Skits meeting, Rainbow Park was the topic at the time, and the Sarnia Police Service didn't create Rainbow Park.
No.
It didn't happen through any objective of ours. There was a lot of things that happened behind the scenes that allowed that to start and then entrench, and then now we've got a big problem.
Right.
The Skits Town Hall came from, we knew as a police service that the community was unhappy. We knew that people wanted to be heard on some of those topics, so we stuck our necks out and said, let's host a town hall, even though it's not necessarily us. And I can say I'm glad we did, but the day before we were like, ooh, I'm not sure how this is going to go. Pitchforks, torches, I'm not sure.
Well, then ultimately we're pulling more bleachers down, we're getting more chairs out, we're packing the stage up, we're packing them in.
Yeah, I was there too. I remember it just being absolutely full.
Yeah.
And
the mayor wasn't there, just for the record.
No, he was not.
No.
I did not see him.
No.
But that, I was talking about transparency, and that is the epitome of it right there. Where to the chief's point, we don't have to do this.
No.
But we're going to tell them exactly what we're doing, how we're trying, then give them a chance to talk to us, and we take stuff away from that.
Yeah.
We're in the strategic business plan process now, which is why we're doing the outreach, and we listen.
Yeah.
And we take that information, and we're able to, align the business with what we're looking for internally and externally. And I think that we did a phenomenal job of it 3 years ago to get to the point where we are now. And now we're just going to refine what it is that we're working on and move forward.
Exactly. All right. So you guys want to dive into the big item topic about the police budget?
You guys want $91 million, right? For a new facility, which we're both very interested to know. So you guys talked about some upgrades that you've already made to your existing facility on Christina Street in the city. Regardless of those changes, what are the things that make your current building so inadequate?
So there's quite a bit to talk about here. So I'll unpack it a little bit as we go. So some of the, I'll go right back to the beginning. Mike talked about some of the challenges with prisoner care and control. Prisoner care and control is one of the highest risks that a police service can, wade into. If someone is to die in police custody, it's an automatic inquest. There's all kinds of things that flow from that. We're into an environment where fentanyl is now prevalent, where people, even a small amount of that can be deadly. And the risks are just so much more. When I started back in 1997, and probably what you saw most in the cell area was the usual arrested person, but in terms of intoxication through drug or alcohol, it was largely alcohol. And you'd bring people in, they'd sleep it off. If they were really bad, you'd take them to the hospital. But the fentanyl piece has really changed the game in terms of risk. And not everybody presents at the moment when they're being booked in. So that is one of the areas that's changed immensely since 1987, or even before. When you consider when a building is built, there's years previous to that where it's designed, where it's discussed. So the mid-'80s is where the design of our building came from. Other pieces that have changed, sally ports, where prisoners are loaded and unloaded. Just give you some examples. Like a police vehicle drives in, we have a secure area where a person is taken out of a vehicle safely, where they're processed and brought into the building safely. We can't even fit our prisoner van in the sally port. There's no room to put them in. These are some of the things that certainly as a chief and as a police officer, these are things that we need to look at. So when we're talking about the facility, I know 91 million is a shocking number, and it certainly feels like that, but this is a capital project, and a police station and a police service is infrastructure in community safety. So I think there is a different take on this. And a lot of the pieces we're talking about, I talked a little bit earlier about how much goes on in a police building. Like this isn't an office center. This isn't just have some Wi-Fi and we carry on. Like we have all of the infrastructure in there technology wise to have all the emergency communications for fire and police in Sarnia, plus fire through all the outlying areas. The building was never designed for that. We've been, again, very transparent with that as well. We actually built in a complete facility website. If you go on our webpage and go to About, you'll see the facility project. And we have posted publicly, here's engineering report number 1, which talked about building code issues, a wheelchair ramp that literally terminates at Christina Street. We're not an accessible building. All those other like infrastructure type pieces to any building, that's that first report. The second report is about a police service. We are different than fire. We are different than ambulance in what the things that we need, the things that we have to do, the things that we have to train on, the different equipment we deploy. The building is a reflection of the services that a police department delivers, and we have to go back to think of all those things, and we have to build supportive infrastructure to allow those things to happen. Forensic ident, lab assessments, handling toxic substances. If you read the papers, our MCAT team does a great job. All kinds of drug seizures. Where do they process that? They should be at a stainless steel table in a ventilated room, safely processing drug exhibits. And there are concerns for the space. Now, I'm going to let Mike jump in here because they could talk about this for a long time. But the other problem with the building is we're trapped in terms of land. Water Street, Christina Street, you got the car spot on the one side of us. We're already renting a parking lot. We're parking all over. There's nowhere to go. So a lot of folks say, why don't you just distribute services? Okay. We did look at that. Like we have explored a bunch of different opportunities over the past, couple of years. I come from a department that has a large department that we had divisional pieces. And there was you always have to have core infrastructure. I'll just give you a very quick example. I'll turn it over to Mike because he's got a great perspective on our building, having lived in it for 21 years. If, say you were to put a detachment somewhere, let's just talk this through. Let's say, okay, so let's build a detachment downtown and the building goes somewhere else. What goes in the detachment? Do you want patrol officers to work out of there? Okay. Are they going to have lockers? Are they going to store their weapons there when they're not working? Are we going to park the cruisers there? Are we going to store property there? And if we store property, how does it get back to get processed at the lab? How do we transport evidence back and forth? How do we all these things? Where do we lock someone up? Do we have 2 cells? How do we monitor them?
Right.
So there's the devil's in the details, so to speak, here with some of these components, and that is some of the challenges. We are not of a size that it's economically viable to have multiple duplicative services in different buildings. That's why we're talking about a building. And the other thing to remember here is time doesn't stop for us. So if we don't do it, let's say we don't do it, then what? Because everything I've just talked about is still here.
Yeah.
Do we have to look at, do we pour good money after bad? If we have to put $1 into the new building, would that be $1 better spent towards a much larger, more permanent solution?
Right.
Or do we do a couple of dollars to buy some time and then do it again?
Yeah.
Because we're very cognizant of the tax burden. Like,
Yeah.
we pay taxes. We understand this. No one wants to spend money that we don't have to spend. Our board has been very supportive and worked through all these pieces. Like, we've arrived at this not as a surprise, but here we are.
Right.
This is a large capital project that will pay dividends for the next 40 years. This
Right.
isn't just next year's, one-time cost. Like, this is, and it's, what do you do if you don't proceed?
Right. It's an investment into the city rather than like an itemized, like you're not Christmas shopping. Like this is,
Right.
This is for the betterment of Sarnia. So I like that. Before we hand it over to you, I just wanted I shared this on the previous podcast where I used to work for a foundational repair company. This is 2016. And we were called in to the Sarnia Police Headquarters to repair a crack. I think it's in the gym in the basement.
That's where I was going to go.
And so I remember being like, well, I'm down here and like there's a crack in the ceiling right now. And there's people working out and just, doing their thing. But yeah, like we had to drill holes and pump the water reactant resin in there. But maybe I want to ask, is that the only crack? And has there been more cracks revealing themselves? And like to your point, is there going to be more of like these types of problems that you're just not aware of yet? And are they going to be, showing their ugly face soon?
I'm not aware of many more cracks like that. That's a pretty significant one you're talking about there. So the gym is actually located underneath the front steps.
Okay.
So it's difficult to fix that problem because you
Right.
have to dig out the front steps. And once you dig out the front steps of that building, you're exposing the gym. So you are kind of aware of the layout of that building.
Yeah.
So those stairs are in desperate need of repair.
Yeah.
But in order to repair them, we have to take them out, which then exposes the basement to the elements, but also it closes our building. There is no other access for the public into the building.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
then what do?
That's true.
So this is a monumental thing. And I would say that over the course of the last 40 years, policing has changed. So even from the front entrance perspective, it was built at an elevated level, which is probably the safest and most secure way you can have it. It's difficult to drive a car into the building if it's like that. However, it's difficult to access. And who's using that building now is very different than it was before. You have the people coming in to get their police checks for volunteer work. You have victims of crime who come in to see victim services who are in there. You have people coming in to have regular business there.
Yeah.
But they're sharing the exact same place with the person who's ready to admit to a homicide, which has happened. We've had shooting victims appear on our front steps. We've had the sex offender registry. They're required to come and check in with us. So when you come in, and if you want to bring your child into, report a crime, you're sharing that area with everybody.
Yeah.
We don't have any place to deal with people on an individualized basis because we're just landlocked there.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere to go.
Right.
So what do we even do? And we're going to fix the stairs. Are we going to make an alternate entrance? Is everybody going to funnel into one area? If we're going to make a line and you don't know who you're with,
Yeah.
it's very important in what we do to be able to serve the people in different ways.
Right.
And we're going to be extremely restricted on that just from that one thing that you're talking about, that you brought up about the leak in the gym.
Like you said, like your guys' clock never stops. Like you're never closed. So that's what I think people forget. It's
Well,
so
that's
interesting.
another thing with the building too, and the ecosystem that the chief talks about. And we talk about cars, like our electric vehicles, and why don't we get those? Like our cars turn on,
Yeah.
and in 3 years, when they're at end of life, they turn off.
Yeah.
So in order to go to electric vehicles, you'd have to double our fleet right away because it needs time to sit there and charge. We never stop moving. Like the civilians work in that building 24/7.
Right.
Yep, some of the administrators go home at the end of the day when we punch out, but there is a crop coming in. It's not just the police officers. That building never sleeps. So when we talk about life expectancy of certain things, if you're going to use it all the time, you can expect it to deteriorate faster, and that's what we're seeing there.
Yeah.
We even looked at we've looked like we've squeezed every drop of juice out of the lemon that we can, so to speak. And I'll give you another example. We run out of office space because there's no room to expand. So we've got record staff. We have all kinds of work that happens behind the scenes. We've even gone to a rotating shift so that a big block of our records personnel they're not always working Monday to Friday because that's a demand for office space. So we said, okay, we're going to put them around the clock 7 days a week, and that takes some office demand out. And so we've looked at all different efficiencies across the board. The city's seen like overtime was brought up, and lo and behold, we've got record levels of the lowest overtime we've had. Not to say that can't change, but we are very much attuned to the business side when we talk about this and how we spend and what we spend on. What do we need to spend on? What can we defer? We certainly have not done everything that needs to be done. We've done the priority items that have to be done that we can't wait. And if we have a small material savings, we look, okay, so now we can do this other thing that we've been waiting on and try to get things to where they need to go.
Right. Yeah. I like how before we were talking about how this is an investment for the city. And after we have mutual friend, Brooke Day, and he's my financial advisor actually for my family. And when he ran for city council in 22, he was talking about ways that the city can actually create these valuable corporations where the city can invest into these things and create revenue streams to put into the city coffers so that we're not burdening the taxpayer. And so to me, it seems always going to the taxpayer's pocket isn't the only option. And it would be just cool to see experience on council. I'm not saying anybody on council isn't experienced, but like this type of innovative thinking where we can almost be self-sustaining.
Well, I'm not a financier.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm just a police officer, and
Yeah.
we do the best we can. And just from a very just a rudimentary perspective, the police station sits on what I would consider to be some prime real estate. It's right off the highway. It's right on Christina. You can see the river from there, and it's a great piece of real estate.
Right.
As a police service, we don't need to be on prime real estate. We can be somewhere else. So when we talk about, for example, this new piece of land, this is a land that's been declared surplus. It's not going to interfere with tax generation down the road. And when the current police station and land, the asset, is returned to the city for their use, again, I'm not a municipal planner, but I would suspect that a tax-paying structure of some kind could go there that would benefit the city as well. It doesn't need to be the police station, because that's lost opportunity in terms of property taxes, in my view. And there's other components of that.
Now,
Sorry, go ahead.
I would push slightly back on that. So this is the hill that I'm dying on as far as our podcast group goes.
We argue about it.
We do argue about it. I feel that Sarnia Police's presence, where it is in the downtown core, is pivotal to the identity of the city. And that I feel like even just how you said that there was somebody who was shot who had walked into the police station, like if you guys were out there on the Golden Mile, like that would not be something that they could do, right? Like I feel like your presence there is important in some way. And is there any truth to that? Is moving out there, is that going to take a piece of the identity of the city out?
So great conversation. Like this is, because that's a common perception, I think.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you, what is it you think about, like, why would the building where it is, how do you see that changing service delivery of what police do?
I don't think it so much as does that, but I think that where you're located it's symbolic in a way. And that symbology in the city, it does all kinds of things. As far as when people drive by there, they behave better. I've known friends in high school who definitely had to behave better walking by there because of all the traffic from the police. You're close to the waterfront events that are always synonymous with, you know, people drink. Where there's drinking, there's crime. It's just how it goes. Not that driving places is going to stop you from being able to do that. I totally see that, but I just feel it's like when Batman has the bat signal release, people are like, oh gee, something's going on. It's the same thing with where you guys are located. At least I feel that way about that.
Okay, so let's open this one up, because I think this is a good conversation. So I do think the police station is a symbol. You see it there, and I think in a city where, like, I'm still learning every day, but I think that building, iconic as it is, has been there for so long. There's almost a piece of comfort attached to it, because you know what it is. You see where it is. That's where it is. The reason that other piece of land was explored was because that was, of all the options that were presented to us, none were downtown. So we have to choose from what's on the menu, because part of what we want to do is we don't want to have to buy land and add 91 million. So is there something available? Again, we're trying to figure out how we resolve this, but not unreasonably so.
Yeah.
In terms of the police, though, there's a couple of differences in terms of how we deploy and how we operate as a police service. Again, I come from a distributed model of policing where I started in a smaller town. Personally, we had 4 officers on the road. That's all we had at nighttime, and we had a remote station in Acton, and that's how we covered it off. So I'm familiar with when we distribute out, and I can tell you that even in our far-reaching areas, there's deployment models that ensure people are always present. Everybody would like to have the station near them. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
The other aspect is when growth comes, and I know it's been a while, but it's going to go east. So what's central today will be right unaligned when the future comes. So we're looking to the future.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. So we do mitigate some of the concerns. Like if you look at the downtown maps, that's where the calls are historically. You're going to see some of those pieces move. Like think about Northgate, if that development comes through. Even think of the developments coming in Point Edward. Like when those, right at that, the old...
Holmes Foundry.
Yeah, the Foundry lands there. Those folks are 10 feet from Sarnia, and they're going to come to Sarnia for, groceries, for restaurants, it's going to be good for the city, but also we're going to be policing when people are in town.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There's everything's pros and cons. Like,
of course,
if ideally, if we could put one downtown, great, but higher real estate values, lost opportunity in terms of businesses or others in limited space. What do we lose operationally by not having that there? Not much in terms of operations, like in terms of actually providing policing, substations, patrol presence. There's a little bit of back and forth. If you got to bring a prisoner in and back, you might,
There might be even an argument where more businesses would be more inclined to develop out that way, just the fact that the police are there.
I just don't want to tie it to the building. The building is not what delivers the services. The police officers and the staff really are. What we need to look at this is a human business. Yeah. Like it's not. We don't make F-150s. We don't. How many windshields are we going to get in today? Yeah. It's policing is one of those very strange human endeavors that every situation's a little bit different. We struggle to quantify a qualitative job like that, but if we can support the people that deliver the services by giving them what they need in terms of infrastructure and talking about simple things like as a police officer, when you're working outside, you wear your vest all day. You are a hot, sweaty mess at the end of the day. In most modern police organizations, there's a place to put your vest where some of them even have a shelf and there's airflow that ventilates the lockers so it doesn't smell like a hockey bag when you go to put it back on again. Yeah. Right now, our folks are in high school lockers.
Oh, really?
And it's these types of things. So you've got your most expensive asset, like in terms of the resource, is the person.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the cost of like a taser, then that expensive asset now has a new capability. They've got a reliable vehicle. That expensive asset now has the way to go back and forth.
Right.
They've got a place to go decompress after a critical incident that's required. They can, they can wash off the body fluids that happened at the thing, and then they're expected to get back out there again.
Yeah.
The other aspect for us is we don't deploy from the station. So other emergency services will assume a location and wait for dispatch.
Right.
And we love our friends at Fire. They do a great
Yeah.
job. We're happy to work with them. They're great to work with, but they don't have to patrol looking for fires.
Right.
Someone's going to
Yeah.
tell them.
Do you think there is like a public perception though that just the image of and the thought of knowing that the station's right there, that there's a sense of security for businesses?
Perhaps for the downtown, but
Yeah.
we've also got businesses that, like Phillip Street businesses, we've had
Right.
meetings with them. They also have issues.
Oh, right.
And I think, so when we're looking at the macro of the city,
Yeah.
that's kind of the chief perspective that I have to take.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. For the downtown, probably they'd like to keep it there. Who wouldn't? I think that makes total sense
Yeah.
from their perspective. But we have to provide services elsewhere. So from our perspective, it's what is the best way that enables our team to deliver as much as they can service-wise, the most efficiently as possible across a city that potentially will have some opportunities to change.
Yeah.
With
Good.
like, there's always the counter argument to that
Yeah.
because when we talk about London Line,
Yeah.
and if you were to query the businesses along there, they would probably tell you that a significant increased police presence would do them well.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when you're talking about commercial and industrial crimes, they're not in the downtown core primarily. There will
Right.
be certain instances where stores are broken into,
Yeah.
absolutely. But certainly it's the people that are downtown
Right.
that creates that call volume. But if you're looking at it from a security perspective, like we need to police the entire city.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't put out every crime either. Like a police officer goes to every death that occurs outside of a nursing home or a medical facility.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, death from a mental illness, these types of things that the officers have to go to, domestic violence calls we don't advertise. When you think about just that topic, like intimate partner violence is a serious thing, and all of that new residential development, when it comes, will bring with it that type of service demand for us, but we won't advertise that because traditionally we don't, because it reveals victims and children and these types of things. But
Yeah.
like underneath what we do and people see is that iceberg of other policing activities, and that's some of the challenge. So we try to mitigate, like to your point, which is
Yeah.
the downtown businesses are important to us too. That's why we invested, with Mike's team as well. Like with the Rainbow Park piece, we put extra officers on downtown patrol every morning. The suite was we went down Front and Christina Street and expanded this year to a downtown village constable to give some police presence. The bike patrol, the uniforms, all those pieces. So we do have opportunities to respond to the community concerns. It just
Yeah.
It's a lot of everything.
Yes.
Everywhere all at once.